Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, you need to come in, we have a huge problem, and that was only the beginning. Customer has as much money as stubbornness. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. You need to come in, we have a huge problem, and that was only the beginning. English is not my native language, so please excuse any strange wording or typos you might encounter. A bit of background information beforehand. Back in the 1990s, the dinosaurs here will remember the days when everything was so much simpler. I had a nice job with a branch of a big banking/real estate company in Hamburg, Germany, 70 kilometers from where I studied at university. Basically, I was required to come in one afternoon a week to take care of any problems the users, all 20 of them, might have encountered in the meantime, check the backup tapes, etc., and most of the time there was really nothing difficult to do. As they didn't do any cash transactions or the usual banking stuff, but only long-term investment and real estate deals, transactions were usually not time critical, but involved huge numbers. Want to guess what successfully marketing 12 whole office floors within the then new Sony Center at Berlin Potsdamer Platz, real prime location in the German capital, netted the company and the managers involved? What made this job special were 3 advantages I never encountered again anywhere else. The clock started when I left my apartment to travel to work and stopped when I returned there, unless I decided not to go directly, and was allowed to put in a hypothetical amount of travel time on the timesheet. They even covered the cost of public transport to and from work. Apparently my predecessor had that deal with them, and they never changed it. So, without lifting a single finger doing anything productive, I always earned at least 4 hours wages plus travel expenses, again, not for business travel, but just commuting, just by deciding to show up. Nice. But then again, to them it was peanuts. Usually, this worked out to my advantage. I tailored my working days to fit my university lecture schedule, so it was more or less a paid trip to town, work as long as I wanted, or the wallet/bank account needed, and leave in time to enjoy the evening. I got paid a ridiculous amount of money for stupid tasks. Although I did study computer sciences at university at the time, and had even gone the extra mile to get my MCSE, Windows NT 4.0 and SQL Server 5, long since expired, this didn't have much to do with the day-to-day work in a Novell NetWare 3.12/Windows NT 4.0 environment, dealing with everything from printer stoppages, missing paper, stuck tapes and Windows profile setup to scanner issues. I got paid 40 Deutsche Mark/hour, which translated, exchange rate from 1997, to $27 and, taking 20 plus years of inflation into account, maybe double that in today's value. No degree, yet, no formal training, some self-taught skills and plenty of trust in my abilities and honesty. I was, although nerdy/shy, the most popular guy in the local branch. For the secretaries, by the way, back then they were picked more for looks than for ability, which made my work both fun and frustrating. I was the only male who was not openly superior in the company hierarchy and rubbing their noses in it, and I didn't expect them to go to bed with me to celebrate especially successful business deals. For the sales department, I was the guy who could, with a bit of witchcraft, create fantastic presentation folders and slideshows for their real estate projects. For the legal department, their outlook and mine were closely aligned vis-a-vis data confidentiality and the importance of reliable backups. And the branch manager somehow had the impression they were exploiting me, and so he got me to tag along when they went out to celebrate. Blowing just 1% of a RE deal bonus payment on food and liquor can take surprisingly long. During all my time there, I never had to go get my own cup of tea. It always appeared mysteriously at my elbow, white, 1 sugar, usually accompanied by the secretary with subjectively the most urgent problems. Something the girls flat out refused to do for anybody else. Never had trouble accessing any computer, even if the really important people in charge were usually reluctant to let anybody interrupt their work, and once even got the branch manager's Beamer, a really nice BMW 840 or 850, to take home over the weekend because I had missed the last direct train, and he didn't want me to have to wait for a connection. All in all, people there were strange, friendly, earned ridiculous amounts of money, and usually we got along splendidly. But there are some tales that are too good not to tell. The cast. Me, obviously me, the part-time IT guy. SR, one of our hotshot sales reps, in his 40s, one of the guys who can sell water to a fish and make them feel they got the better end of the deal, unless you got to know him. Think used car salesman, but on a huge scale with business deals in the millions, and usually a good guy unless under pressure. BM branch manager with a keen sense of self-preservation. Remember, it's the 90s, so internet, email etc. were rather basic compared to today, and vaguely frightening to the older colleagues. It was a Saturday, which is not considered to be a normal working day in Germany, so nearly all shops were closed. Back then, retail shops were usually open only before noon on Saturdays, not at all on Sundays. Enter SR calling me at home from his mobile phone, by the way, hugely expensive back then, like $1.50/minute, to tell me he needed support, pronto, because obviously I had not fixed his problem the week before and he needed to prepare a slideshow for an investors meeting that very evening. I racked my brain about any unfinished business, but couldn't remember any critical issues or any issues at all related to SR's computer. As I presumed it was more of a layer 8 issue, he was good at selling, but not at dealing with technology. I tried to get more information than just my computer won't start, until finally he admitted he had moved the computer around in his office, and as the cable wasn't long enough from the new location, he had exchanged the network port for the similar looking telephone port, both RJ45, but one way's hooked up to the data switch and the other one to the telephone system, and vice versa, which nicely explained the conversation we had using his mobile phone, running up a decent bill. And when asked to undo his changes, he flat out refused to do it because he was not, in his words, a janitor, and no, he needed his normal computer to do the work. Using another one was absolutely impossible. He had had that situation since the previous Monday, but had worked externally for a few days without telling anybody about his problem, and a problem we don't know about, we can't fix, which would have been really easy. So he wanted me to come in extra, which was not covered in my contract, and told me he would square it with BM. Knowing SR, his promises are only worth anything as long as he needs you. I insisted on getting authorization from BM, who was not amused at all to be called away from whatever he was doing that day to authorize overtime. A short description of the situation was needed. BM was seething and muttered something about deducting the additional expense from SR's bonus, so it wouldn't cost him or the company a penny, and since we didn't have anything in the contract, he went full hog and authorized me coming into work by taxi, $200 each way, quadruple overtime, yay, and, if I needed more than 3 hours to fix the problem, a full meal in the really excellent restaurant next door, and, if more than 6 hours, overnight hotel accommodation nearby. I didn't feel particularly exploited that day. Arriving at the office was a bit anticlimactic at first. I expected SR to be frantic because of the approaching deadline, but this genius had finally understood what a network means. So he had been working on another person's computer all the time, and was nearly done preparing his slides, even apologized for being rude on the phone in the first place. Repairing his computer took me only a short trip to the server room to grab a slightly longer cable. But then the problems really began. Back then, slides were slides, as in physical slides, not PowerPoint etc. And for a presentation, we were able to transfer data directly from the computer to 35mm film using a special, and really expensive, film recorder with a breathtaking resolution of IRC 640x480. First off, he hadn't announced his intention to create slides to anybody, so the stocks of film were basically empty, and, Saturday afternoon in Germany, he wasn't able to get any from the photo store he usually went to. Being more open-minded, I suggested getting some from one of the kiosks catering to tourists nearby, as they sold film as well. It never occurred to him that you could get it there as well. But even with film, where would he get that film developed without any businesses being open? The normal 1-hour rush job photo labs were closed. SR started to get nervous to the point of screaming incoherently at the wall. Until it occurred to him that in the red light district, Hamburg's famous Reeperbahn, and St. Pauli, there are photo artists who will not trust their photographs to be handled by a commercial lab, so they certainly will develop their own films and might be persuaded somehow to do it for us as well. How he came across that particular bit of knowledge, we'll never know. Imagine 20 years old me, the prototypical nerd, a big wad of cash in hand, first of all going to the red light district, which I only knew by reputation, and some of those look but don't touch trips teenagers do with their friends to prove their masculinity, haha, asking around for photographers. Apparently the ladies of the night thought I wanted to be photographed in the act and started quoting prices for their services. Finally finding one guy agreeing to develop the film and create the slides, and coming back with receipts stating e.g. taxi from 2 and S*X Pictures Express service, this being Germany. You have to have proper receipts to be reimbursed, and I presume even prostitutes wouldn't bat an eyelid being asked to give a receipt for services rendered. We got ripped off, paying more than 100 DM, $70 for developing that film. But in an emergency. In the end, we did it, finished everything in time for the presentation, and even had a good laugh about it before SR went to do his presentation. No idea whether he sold anything that day. On that one day, I earned more money than in a whole month otherwise, and got to learn a lot about life and the economy as such. A few weeks later, for some reason or other, smiley face, SR and I had some explaining to do to some guy from headquarters about the funny receipts. Took some months, but BM got it cleared up in the end. Customer has as much money as stubbornness. I work at a small telecom company, and we provide copper lines that we offer DSL and phone over, or in new areas that we are still expanding, we offer speeds upwards of 1 gig. If the customer can pay, we offer faster, but have to strike up a special deal. I once saw a host running 10 gig with a specialized ONT in iMac. At the time of the story, I have been working at ISP just over a year. I've been studying Net Plus since it's directly related to my job, and I am decently knowledgeable when it comes to networking, and my job is spread wide enough I have to do some things that would be considered higher tiers, or even sys.admin. But at ISP we have 1 tier total for all calls, and if you don't bug sys.admin, the more they like you. Especially when you thoroughly document and provide information. Which in this particular case I did. Repeatedly. This customer I dealt with is one, if you say the name aloud in the call center, everyone is suddenly tense. She bought an insurance program from us that for a low monthly payment, if your internet stops working, even on the customer side of the demarc and inside the customer's home, we will dispatch a trouble ticket for an installer fix it for no charge. But there are steps to acquire such a magical ticket, as abuse of this could cost a company significantly. Begin scene 1. OP, hello, ISP Tech Support. How can I help you? Already frustrated customer, yes, hi. My internet is down. You need to send someone out to fix it. OP, okay. Well, before I can submit a ticket, there are some steps we need to take first. Are you getting any particular error? Frustrated customer huffs and I hear some clicking. Yes, there is. My computer says could not join network. Could you just send someone to fix it? We sure can, but I need to check some things first. This is where I was already looking at her extensive history on how she would yell at techs on call as soon as she starts to feel if she doesn't get her way, so immediately I started to document everything. Her modem/router, that I will refer to as just router from her on out, was online. Her ping times were great. Her signal strength from the DSL equipment on our end to her router looked very good as well. She was definitely getting the speed she was paying for. But I wanted to cover all my bases. I use a tool on the router to have the router itself ping a domain or IP and display the results in the GUI, and surprise surprise, 0% packet loss to google.com, and her router has been up since the last time she called. OP, unreasonably frustrated customer, do you think you could restart your router for me? Frustrated customer, even bigger huff, well, I already did that. And I determined that it's the lines. Check the lines. OP, I need you to do it anyway, and it'll rest some equipment on my end. Frustrated customer unplugs router and instantly plugs it back in. Frustrated customer, okay, I did it. Total time elapsed of the router being off, 0.000001 seconds. Dying inside OP, ma'am, I will need you to leave it unplugged for longer than that. Our equipment needs about 15 seconds before plugging it back in. Frustrated customer, fine. Frustrated customer complies and router reboots, and is still the MVP of this call. OP, can you try connecting again for me? Shockingly, her internet doesn't work still. I had a feeling from the start that there is something LAN side causing issues. Either her Windows 10 PC or the third-party router, D-Link, that I see in the ARP table. When in doubt, blame Windows. Frustrated customer, it still doesn't work. I'm telling you, someone needs to come fix this now. I'm paying a lot of money for this. OP, okay, let's restart your D-Link AP, probably a router. No way a customer has the concept of what double NAT could even bother them with usually. Frustrated customer, I will, but I know it's not the problem. I know it's the bad word lines. And you're wasting my time. It's at this point I get excited to embarrass her with how disgustingly nice my tone has been the whole time, and she had been rude and profane, profanities omitted, because I was 75% sure that it was the D-Link. She probably has an ancient Wi-Fi B/G/and AP that belongs in the dump. And if it wasn't that, definitely Windows 10. Frustrated customer, okay, I restarted it. OP, could you try connecting for me again? Frustrated customer, okay, I think it's working. But you still need to send someone out to check the lines. I have insurance plan. OP, okay, schedules ticket for X day at Y time. Insurance plan will help you if it's related to the lines, only if it's anything else you will be responsible for time and labor charges. At this point I knew what the ticket would be and was feeling good, since for tickets that are needless and plain old harassment, as I disclosed to try to scare her out of it. But I knew most likely our installer would probably go out find nothing and waive the fee as a courtesy check at their discretion. Installer goes out, fine, no trouble. Close ticket. End scene 1. OP, hello IT. Begin scene 2. Less than 3 weeks have elapsed, and I see her name pop on my screen with the usual trill of my desk phone. Sigh. Frustrated customer, pages are loading slowly, there is something wrong with your lines. Send someone out to fix them. OP, okay, well, let's take a look at what's going on. Enters the matrix of customer connection data, and unsurprisingly everything looks great. Better than the first time I looked at her connection. Her router has been up for 19 days, last time her and I were on the phone, and I want to do this quickly. OP, what troubleshooting steps have you done? Frustrated customer, everything that I need to know that. I need you to check the lines. OP, well, I can't check the lines without doing some troubleshooting. Let's start with your D-Link. D-Link reboot ensues and customer is ever so unhappy. OP, are you able to connect? If you are able to, that indicates something is wrong with you D-Link or the cable to it. Frustrated customer, NO. The window went all gray and won't respond when I click incessant clicking. OP, sounds like your computer is frozen, or at least internet browser. Frustrated customer, it's not that. I telling you it's the lines. Rebooted her computer, and that solved her issues, and she chalked it up to weird. I know it's the lines and once again demanded a ticket be placed again. Installer goes out, fine, no trouble. Close ticket. Unfortunately, I was not graced with the privilege to speak with our beloved frustrated customer again, but every few months I check up on her. She was so convinced it was the copper lines that we laid to her property she had this call 2 more times with 2 more call center techs. Fast forward a couple months, and she paid by the foot for a special fiber drop to her house, which can be $20 to $30 per foot. And then used the same link. More troubles followed for months. No matter how many times we told her it has to be a LAN problem, offered her solutions that were much cheaper and easier than is laying an undisclosed amount of money on a cable. Estimated between 8 to 15 grand. After she calls and harasses more coworkers, she is finally convinced to at least replace the Ethernet cable to her D-Link in poof. Like that. Callbacks stop happening.